And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, milk cows, work all day in the fields, milk cows again, eat supper, then go to town and stay past midnight at a meeting of the school board. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody willing to sit up all night with a newborn colt and watch it die, then dry his eyes and say, maybe next year. I need somebody who can shape an axe handle from a persimmon sprout, shoe a horse with a hunk of car tire, who can make harness out of hay, wire, feed sacks, and shoe scraps, who planting time and harvest season will finish his 40-hour week by Tuesday noon, and then pain in from tractor back, put in another 72 hours. So God made a farmer. God said, I need somebody strong enough to clear trees and heave bales. It had to be somebody who'd plow deep and straight and not cut corners. Somebody to seed, weed, feed, breed, and rake and disc and plow and plant and tie the fleece and strain the milk.
The group plants are artificial manures. We make artificial plants, which create artificial animals, which then convert into artificial people who can only be kept alive with artificials.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica show. We are going to be chatting with Joel Salatin a little bit later about proper farming techniques and how to farm without fucking everything up. So it's a good one, from straight from the mouth of a farmer. I think he's got 9 or 10 books. Yeah, it's a good one. Worked out perfect with planting season for Canadian buddies. Yeah, you guys should enjoy. I suppose first we'll introduce our co-host over here, Mr. Graham Bloody Blood Dunlop.
Hey, buddy.
How's it going?
I was just thinking how fortunate we are to, we're preparing for your vacation, so the listeners won't even tell that you're gone. And we're just getting to do all these great interviews, and it's kind of cool when you do a few in a row with a couple great guests. That's pretty cool. It's inspiring.
That's going to be a crazy couple of months.
Yeah.
Great episodes coming up. Putting in all this extra work before the vacay.
Yep.
Just like a job. A job you don't get paid for.
Moonlighting,
yeah. For free. It's more like interning.
Grimerica.ca/support.
Yeah, Grimerica.ca/support. So what's new, buddy?
Not much. Oh, I've been meaning, I got a little biohacking thing. We could talk about that too, but at some point.
See how seamlessly I rolled into that?
It's almost like it's almost like you had that ready to go.
I got the jingle board all. I got the jingle board all ready to go.
So, anyways, this isn't much, but
chord's fucked.
In the spirit of Ramadan and all that, I can talk. I can talk about my own fasting experience that I've been trying.
Okay, let's hear about it.
Yeah, so I tried. Well, I did. I went like a full day, right? Of just water only, no food. And
that's not Ramadan fasting.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
Is that the fucking cat again?
Yeah, it's
her.
It's her. Anyways, forget the cat.
Okay.
So
till she chews the cord. That's probably why this fucking cord don't work.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Grimerica, that's
I'm gonna buy another cord. Because Darren can't control his cat. So, anyways, it's
fucking runs your life.
That's not fair.
The cat is now here by the microphone.
It's a pretty quiet cat, otherwise you'd hear it. Okay, so anyways, let's go on. So I've been wanting to do these fasts, like work up to a 3-day fast or a 4-day fast. There was some guys in the chat room that were inspiring as well. They've done like 5 days, 7 days. So I started with just doing a 24-hour fast because it's super healthy. I mean, I should have had some of the benefits to it handy here, but it's an interesting thing for mindfulness. Like, it's very interesting, the cravings for food, right? Like all day.
Noticing how hungry you are.
No, it's not really a hunger thing. I didn't even feel the hunger. It was the craving for food. Like, I was reaching for food when I wasn't hungry. Huh. And then I would be like, okay, just forget it. Forget the food. Have a sip of water. Go back to what you're doing. Like focus on the moment or whatever.
How long are you doing?
I want to get up to like 4 days. The 3 days is a real peak where it's helpful, super helpful. But 1 day is, I was trying that time compressed eating window, which is like intermittent fasting, where I try not to eat after an early dinner, let's say, and go to like 8 or 9 in the morning without any caloric intake.
That's like,
but that didn't last very long.
That's way easier than Ramadan.
No, I know. I'm not comparing anything to Ramadan. I'm just saying it happens to be. I know a couple friends that are fasting, and I was thinking about my experience with fasting. And I want to, you know. And so I tried it. So I got home. I was already like, I had gone from that previous night's dinner at like 4:00 all the way to the next day. And I was planning on going that night as well. And then I got home and I had a steak that I had to cook. Like I wasn't set up properly with influences in the house. And I just broke down and I just ate the steak. And then I got tired. I went to bed. I was super tired. Went to bed. But then I woke up feeling fantastic the next day.
That's because you ate some food.
So I tried it. I tried it again. 26 hours made it. Twice. That's it. So.
Without eating?
Yeah.
I've never gone that long.
Or drinking anything. Just water. Just water.
No, you can't do water. Try and do Ramadan.
But I want to have my buddy Mike on because he did another one of those cleanses, the master cleanse with the cayenne, the maple syrup, and the lemon.
Next year you should prep for it and do Ramadan.
And he had a really interesting spiritual awakening, and then he just
or not do Ramadan, but you should try.
Are you even listening to me?
You should try and do the fast next year. We can prep for it.
I'm not going to do that. That's crazy.
No, you can do it.
No,
you can do it. I'm telling you.
They can't even have water. This guy I'm playing hockey with can't even have water out there. So yeah, that's it. So I'm working my way up. I want to do a few days here.
Right, next year he's going to do 30 days.
But then I got to tell you, I've also been sick a lot lately, which is really weird for me. But last Saturday, the Saturday before, and 2 Saturdays a month before each of those. So there's some weird cycle with weekly or monthly. I just get this like cold chill, super weak, like I can hardly move.
So when you're on your period,
and then I get on.
You then I
get off it. It's my male cycle.
You gotta rest when you're on your period.
It's my male menopause.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not. Maybe that's what it is.
Menopause.
Yeah, male menopause.
Jump right to menopause. What are you, like 60?
No, it's 45, 50 when that happens.
Hey Siri, how old are you when you have menopause? Oh fuck, he's getting lazy too. Hey Siri, how old are you when you have menopause?
Here's what I found on the web for how old are you when you have menopause. Have a look.
Oh, why doesn't he tell you?
Who knows?
Okay, forget it. That's a fail.
It's a fail. Yeah, our AI's coming, people. Okay.
So what do you want to talk about next? Curry's podcasting thing? Let's get that out of here.
Okay.
We're going to do something with that, but we don't know what yet. But you can donate $33 to get in the club. Then it kind of jumps up to like $500 for the Podcaster Pro. So we're talking about Adam Curry's like ultimate podcast machine here. So I'll put a link in the show notes. He's got an Indiegogo going. He's like 11% of the way there. This is the ultimate podcast device for podcasters who need to travel, or even you probably don't even need it for travel, right? You could just have it.
Yeah.
Have it there.
I would ideally just use it for travel. I mean, we got a whole fucking studio.
Well, for us, but I mean, for other people. Like if we were starting from scratch, boom.
If I was starting from scratch, that's what I'd buy. Probably.
Yeah.
Because then you wouldn't need all this shit.
Yeah, we're still getting new XLR cords, and it's still XLR capable. I think 2-channel. So I don't think you could set up 4 mics from it though.
And then it's going to come with software though for all the other stuff. I think, right?
Oh, you think so?
I think so. Yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, yeah. Good luck with that, Adam. I'll link to it in the show notes.
Word up.
Might as well keep on promoting stuff. Got an email about our chat with Griffin. Chats with.
Are you going to the Red Pill?
And then the Red Pill. I'm still working on it. I don't know if I can get the time off, but I'm looking at it. That's the That's the Red Pill Expo in Bozeman, Montana, on June 23rd, 24th.
I think that's where that Republican just beat up that journalist and still won.
It is. Yeah, it is. He body slammed him. No, he didn't body. It was all exaggerated. Not all of it, but He apologized.
Sorry.
But that's got to give him a sign.
Sorry, I body slammed you.
That the people don't care that happened. But it was all Trump's fault.
Yeah.
He's been,
Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you got?
So, well, this red pill is amazing, right? There's going to be tons of speakers, all kinds of stuff like banking and
We got
conspiracy.
Ty coming up too, right?
So, yeah, like Robert Kiyosaki, Mike Adams, Lord Christopher Monckton.
He'd be good to get on.
Ty Bollinger, yeah, he's coming on. Patrick Wood, Joel Salatin, our last guest there, Dan Johnson, John B. Wells, Cynthia McKinney, Alex Newman, Holly Swanson, James Corbett, Richard Gage, Jeff Berwick, John Rappaport. We've had him on. So, yeah, a lot of familiar names for people, I'm sure. That'll be a fun one.
You can't miss it.
I know. I was thinking even if I have to work, should I go up Friday? But that's just cutting it too close. It's like an 8-hour drive.
When does it start? Saturday?
I could probably just get the one Friday off and go Thursday right after work.
When does it start?
Friday. It's Friday, Saturday.
Friday?
Yeah.
All day Friday?
Yeah. Full day Friday, full day Saturday.
So you could just go for the Saturday too, and you still get to see everyone.
I know, but it's just a long 16-hour drive in 3 days, right?
I just did that last weekend, just fucking there and back.
I know. So did I.
Oh yeah, I'm not even on the same day. We couldn't even go together. Our destinations are just different enough that we couldn't have gone together.
Did you see my dash cam through my favorite part of the drive?
No,
through the little valley there by Drumheller?
We talked about this.
What?
Talked about this.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we did. I'm going to say no, and you're going to get all upset. And then I say, well, did you watch mine? And you're going to say no. And then we laugh. Yeah.
Did you do it?
Move on.
Did you do it?
We talked about this.
Okay, I know we didn't.
Yes, we did. I'm telling you.
Okay.
And actually, we might have talked about this in a pre-recorded intro, which will then come out after this and make it even more fucked up. Weird little podcast purgatory. Hey, I want to play this new jingle.
Okay.
You have a ripple stick?
Yeah, I'll try.
Ripple before the stick. Ripple before the stick. Now, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to roll this one into, that's a good jingle. Thanks, Felix. It's got to be Felix, right?
Yeah.
So
the soundboard's broken.
I don't know if this is a ripple stick or or just a synchronicity, but what would you consider a ripple stick for our listeners who have never heard that before?
It's like a precognitive.
It's a precognitive synchronicity or just a precog?
Yeah, or a gut feeling of something before it happens.
So this might be it, but I don't know. We'll see. But I'm going to get into the feedback on our J. Edward Griffin episode as well.
Continue.
So this is from Bob.
Bob. Hi, Bob. Thanks, Bob. See, Bob is supporting the show. Be like Bob.
Here's a synchro that I thought I'd send along. I was actually thinking about the email I was going to send you while it happened. That's the one about public banking, and I'll get into that in a sec. As I was also listening to the Opperman report. Is that where I heard about Grimerica? I don't remember. Probably not.
Probably not. Who's that? What's that?
I don't know. The Opperman report shows about Marilyn Monroe and her affairs with JFK and RFK, as presented by the author of a new book called The Murder of Marilyn Monroe, Case Closed. It's quite sad and disturbing, mirroring my thoughts in general about this strange, tawdry, violent, and celebrity-besought place called America. And then in brackets, he puts Grimerica. Filled with the most beautiful landscapes and people. This is happening as I'm walking through Central Park to get to the Met, and that's the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, where I live. Artists sell their stuff on the sidewalk outside the Met on the edge of the park. As I turn to leave the park and walk towards the museum, I practically bump into this painting. And it's a painting here, Historical Figures by Sophia the Fourth, or IV. There. So, and it's got a picture of who must be Marilyn Monroe, but I don't know the guy beside her.
Let's see. Can you turn it?
He looks familiar. I don't know. A gray-haired, balding dude.
Joe DiMaggio?
Really?
I don't know.
I don't know. So, anyways.
He looks like he's from a couple eras before Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah. So, anyways.
What is that? It's just a painting by an artist, so is it supposed to be, it has to have some sort of historical
Well,
context?
yeah, because he was listening to what? The painting itself or the synchro?
So the painting isn't supposed to be of Marilyn Monroe. It's just a coincidence.
It's a ripple stick. No, there's no such thing as coincidences. He was listening to the show and he was talking about Marilyn and all that.
Yeah.
Listening to us, thinking about us. So anyways, this is his feedback on Griffin. Dear boys, I much enjoy your podcast. I love the wide range and open-minded thinking, all the reading and exploration that you do. I've considered writing a few times, but the G. Edward Griffin show has me itched to respond. Griffin was spot on about the illusions that have been fostered on us, but I find it very odd that he did not mention public banking. After his book on the Federal Reserve, which is neither federal nor reserve, one might think it would be the first on his list of predatory illusions to shatter. Public banking is a very simple and popular solution to the ravages of unbridled capitalism. It is a collective bank loaning money at the statewide level and charging very little interest. Wall Street then sees no profit from desperately needed public works projects paid for by the people's money. At present, Wall Street can skim hundreds of millions of dollars for public works projects by underwriting them. They have bankrupt many towns and cities and governments, forcing them to take out even more loans. North Dakota has a public bank in its most economically vibrant state in the country, even during the crash of the oil prices recently. Please visit Ellen Brown's site. I'm sure she would come on your show, and she is the current most foremost authority on public banking. There are now measures to bring public banking to New Jersey and California. Even cities can have their own public banks, and many are being proposed. It's the perfect place for the left and right to converge. Public banking is the real solution, so of course big-time Democratic New York Times columnist and famous economist Paul Krugman never mentions it either. Imagine my shock. So he goes on, he says, Griffin's constant pejorative use of the word collectivism really bugged me. He was eloquent about the sovereignty of the individual, with which I wholeheartedly agree, using his interest metaphor of trees and forests, but he never acknowledges that a human being cannot survive on his or her own. Even hermits have people bring them food. Backwoodsmen have to come to town at least twice a year. We need others to survive. And we have to organize ourselves as groups to survive. Even marriage. Is that not a collective? Is the family type collective? Then there are groups of families, tribes, or small towns are collective, and so on. It being true that the larger the collective, the more abstract it becomes, the more religion-like, and thus the more oppressive of individual liberties. This is our problem. Almost no mammal, or any animal for that matter, can survive alone, and almost every mammal organizes itself into various forms of collective behavior. The human predicament seems to be how to organize a fair and just collective while honoring individual sovereignty. I hold the belief that most humans believe in fairness. It seems intrinsic to human consciousness, minus the sociopaths, of course. The tension of opposites, of freedom and responsibility, the individual and the collective, the one and the many determines much of our character. It is an ongoing part of the human condition, and it needs to be clearly discussed in those terms. I find it odd that Griffin's Fed book mentioned the CIA twice in 350 pages, yet it mentions socialism countless times as the great boogeyman. The CIA was founded from people from Wall Street and primarily makes world safe for Wall Street. Socialism does not have to mean totalitarian, yet is profoundly demonized and sounds suspiciously close to Griffin's collectivism. Griffin advocates the gold standard, which could change almost nothing about the Federal Reserve System or banking system. It is the sheer amount of interest charged on fiat currency that keeps us in bondage to the central banks. And by shunning collectivism, I fear he is actually tarnishing public banking, the fair, simple, and just alternative. I say the terms to use are the people versus the elites. They have certainly collectivized, so we damn well better. But the tactics of the divide and conquer always prevail over the people. Public banking seems to me a place where the people can agree and fight the illusionists. His advocacy for seeking political power, something I highly agree with, at least shows a faith in collective action based on fairness. Peace and good health, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Yeah, it's good feedback. Like he's criticizing constructively, and he's also talking about stuff where he was
individualism.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. Yeah.
I think he's saying it's collectivism.
No, I think he's
like, I look at individualism as more being about rights, right? Less about us not being in groups and working together and doing
it's
things.
rights, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Like,
yeah,
I as an individual have the right to own property. I as an individual have the right not to vaccinate. I as an individual have the right to whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And fucking the
as long as you're not harming,
as
long as you're not harming.
Yeah, the
somebody.
greater good doesn't fucking, like,
it just that helps the greater good.
Yeah, as long as my
right.
fucking freedom doesn't infringe on anyone else's shit or hurt them, then it shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
Shit shouldn't be able to be illegal for the greater good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was thinking the same thing. It's just where does hurt? It's just hard to define hurt, right? Or harm. You're free unless you harm somebody. Well, is calling them a name harming them? Is hitting them harming them? Like
hitting them is harming them.
Obviously. Well, yeah. I mean, that's obvious. But what I'm talking about those gray areas, right? That's where, that's where we get caught. But anyways, it was a great email, good feedback,
and
both negative and positive.
Are very extremely limited taxes, right? That's where what my problem with it is what it starts getting into. The more is where they just start taking more and more and more of your money, and then deciding how to divvy it up.
Well, I think that's why he's also pushing for public banking, right? Get them off that central banking system.
Public banking is a form of collectivism or of individualism.
Yeah. And that's part of the solution.
It's a macro of individualism.
Yeah.
Well, that might be fucking completely
do
wrong.
We don't really have a lot of public. Is that what do they call those up here? The community credit union, right?
It's probably something like that.
Yeah. That's
right. Probably something like that.
I do think that is a real solution because, I mean, otherwise, whether the gold standard is in effect or not, if it's coming through the central banks, you're still getting dinged with all the interest and it's still going through them, right? Instead of through the people directly or even the government for that matter.
Fucking government.
Okay.
Alan and Graham are going deep. It's a profound UFO quote of the week. Words to ponder and critique. It's a profound UFO quote of the week.
So I got a different one this week. This is a Paradigm Research Group. This is an email from them. So it's going to be a couple quotes mixed in here and a little bit of a story. So Steve Bassett, the executive director, he's the one that was hoping for Hillary to disclose the truth of UFOs. He's been working on this hard for many years.
Yeah, we all know who Bassett is. He had the Senate hearings or whatever, didn't he?
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, I'm practically a ufologist.
So I got a quote from him here, actually. What the keepers of the truth embargo either fail or refuse to realize is a post-disclosure world could be the bridge between U.S., China, and Russia that would permit the necessary geopolitical realignments to set a new course away from the seemingly permanent war economies, wasting vital resources, and keeping the world always on the brink. So what he's saying is he's had this, he's also linking to an interview with Robert Bigelow. Do you remember that guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Consciousness.
No. Robert Bigelow is
he's the thing to take E.T. home?
No, that's close. That's Ben Rich from Skunkworks.
Who's Bigelow then? He's got the ranch, the Skinwalker
He's got
Ranch.
Bigelow Aerospace, and he just spent millions researching all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So billionaire Robert Bigelow of Bigelow Aerospace finally said publicly what hundreds of millions of people around the world already know to be true, as he said it, and he said it on CBS 60 Minutes last night. Here's the key excerpt from the interview with Lara Logan. And this is, but on this canyon road just outside Las Vegas, Robert Bigelow's story takes a turn that some may find, to put it lightly, improbable. He told us this is where his grandparents had a close encounter with a UFO. It really sped up and came right in their face and filled up the entire windshield of the car, and it took off at a right angle and shot off into the distance. The story sparked his obsession and explains the alien looking out from the side of Bigelow Aerospace. And it made for the kind of conversation you don't ordinarily have with an accomplished CEO. So Lara, I'll read you the interview here.
Lara Croft.
Lara Logan. Do you believe in aliens?
That's a great stripper name.
Robert, I'm absolutely convinced that's all there is to it. Do you also believe that UFOs have come to Earth?
You should do it in a girl voice.
Can't do that.
I also believe that aliens have come to Earth.
There has been is an existing presence, an ET presence. I've spent millions and millions and millions. I've probably spent more as an individual than anybody else in the United States has ever spent on this subject. Is it too risky for you to say in public that you believe in UFOs and aliens? I don't give a damn. I don't care. You won't worry that some people will say, did you hear that guy? He sounds like he's crazy. I don't care. Why not? It's not going to make a difference. It's not going to change the reality of what I know. Do you imagine that in our space travels we will encounter other forms of intelligent life? You don't have to go anywhere. You can find it here. Oh, no, that was a question. You can find it here? Where exactly? It's just right under people's noses. Oh my gosh, wow. So
this is the worst UFO quote ever. You're lucky I got deleted the train wreck jingle.
For decades, CBS 60 Minutes has avoided the ET issue and with great resolve. It simply would not cover the subject. Better late than never. And PRG tips its hat to Robert Bigelow. Thank you. So hello, Elon Musk and Richard Branson. Would you care say what you really think about the extraterrestrial presence? Nothing invigorates like the speaking truth to power. That better finish?
Great quote.
Thanks, buddy.
Well done.
Bingo, bingo, social media jingle. Don't forget to rate, comment, and or subscribe to the Grimerica.
Where did I leave, huh?
I don't know, but, you know, you didn't even give me a chance to segue into my review of Unacknowledged.
I know. It was by design. So we have...
Where are you? Are you reading from the YouTubers?
The YouTubers, yeah.
Not the chats?
On number 188. What is wrong with the ducking cops in this ducking world? Control freak psychopaths. I forget what we talked about that he would have. I forget.
I don't know. So why are you even reading one that's irrelevant like that?
I don't know. Here we go. No, not going to read that one.
Why not?
No, not going to read that
Why
one.
not?
No, not going to read that one.
Are they supporting Graham or something?
Okay, the problem with the CIA reading room is it's kind of hard to read. Made me laugh so hard it hurt. Granted, I did crack a rib falling off my bike yesterday, so just breathing kind of hurts. LOL. Oof. And he says, Welly is indeed short for Wellington in this context. Also, Leicester is pronounced Leicester.
Yeah, I said that.
And no, not in a UK pot. And no, I'm not. Oh, he must have typoed. He means, oh no, I'm not a UK posse member. I'm from New Jersey. I ain't afraid of no ghost. Is the Graham Ghostbuster lookalike meme making a resurgence this episode?
Oh my God.
I forgot about that. Everyone, who was it who pictured you as Ray from Ghostbusters?
Nap, I think, probably.
What else do we got here? Thank you guys for the time you invest in making these. On a side note, it's been bugging me since I found you guys about a year ago on whom Graham's voice sounds like. Finally figured it out, but don't want to say as it might never get out of listeners' heads. If you read this and want to hear it, let me know. Once again, thanks for all you guys do. So email me that directly. Darren@Grimerica.com. I'm the only one who needs to know. Could work out well. Another one. Wow, the story was incredible and made me cry. About the man whose arms were destroyed with a precognitive thought.
Yeah.
Perhaps whatever it was, great story, and I hope he lives a long, long, happy life. Surviving all that, he's a freaking rock star. Thanks for taking the space to read his story. Also agreed you did read it well. Thanks as always, gents. Great episode.
Aw, thank you. Who was that from?
BC. Excellent show. I enjoy Dave. He is missed, and you guys did a good job with your guest and on the show. Very gracious in letting the man talk.
Who was that?
The original B-Rad.
Huh. No, I mean, what guest?
McGowan. Dave McGowan.
Oh, wow.
We have been living under the feminine principle for thousands of years, at least since Christianity, Mary, and the Zoroastrians, have we not? Zoroastrians? Zoroastrian. That was on the Carmen Bolter.
Oh, yeah.
And speaking of the chats, so I guess
what happened?
150 is the limit.
Oh, no way.
So we maxed it out.
Well, that's stupid.
And other people were trying to join.
Oh, and they couldn't get in there, wondering why they couldn't get in there. Frustrated. Imagine how frustrating that would be.
And I was like, well, there's lots of people that aren't participating. But then we were like, well, how do we decide who's participating? So we just decided to go with everyone who didn't have a logo or an avatar. Got
booted?
Got booted. And not by me. I enlisted that power to Grimstake so that I could keep my hands clean, but he dealt with it swiftly. So if you did get booted and you're wondering why, that's why. Come back, avatar up. Well, in the meantime, we'll try and come up with another solution.
Yeah, what are we going to do there? That sucks.
Failed is going to look into like a forum, he said, on his week off, but that's still not going to. So if we could maybe move most of the people into the forum that want to sign up, and the regulars could be in the chat.
Well, you had an idea of it.
Because the chat seemed great, because, I mean, people are connecting, making podcasts. Like, it's a shame to have it be full unless we just charge people. We don't want to do that. So anyway, that was my thought, is perhaps going. So anyway, if you got kicked out, come back, make an avatar. We've got room for 30 people still right now. And if you're in there and you're not liking it and you're not thinking you're going to participate much, then you can always just leave.
Take off,
and make room for other people while we try and come up with a system. I was going to switch to WhatsApp because you're allowed like 256 there. But
why don't we go to that other one that guy suggested?
Oh, we should research that. Check it out.
I was in there. I went. I tried it, and I was in there. You were in there too, weren't you?
No, not really. Send it to me again.
You won't read it if I send it to you.
Put some stars in the subject or something. But anyway, the other thing is, I mean, we've been wanting to do an app forever now. I don't know what the fuck happened with that Libsyn shit.
Oh yeah, we have one actually that we're supposed to, but that's not going to be the one we want for chats and stuff like that.
No, so that's why I'm thinking of just doing, maybe it's time to start saving up or looking at doing an app that can maybe incorporate the chats and things like that, like a decent app, which has cost a ton of money and we don't get a lot of money, so we might as well spool right into grimerica.ca/support. But alternatively, if one of you knows or builds app or, knows someone who does that can give us a deal or do it as on a value for value basis for us or something like that, that'd be what I'm more interested in. If someone there builds apps or has any ideas on how to build them, or ideally you'd want it to play the podcast, download the podcast episodes, maybe possibly incorporate the blogs,
have a perpetual chat,
and then have the perpetual chats with unlimited people.
And I'm trying to think of that one that like my sister uses for her work, and that the guy suggested that we go on.
Yeah, we checked that out. I know WhatsApp is different.
I can't find it now.
It goes by phone numbers and stuff, right? So not everyone wants to give their phone number out.
What about Signal as one of those? Would that work with more people?
I don't know.
I just can't believe there's a limit like that. Only 150.
We could check the Signal. We could look into the Signal, actually. But no, Signal links to a phone number, too. I wonder if I can see the phone number. Where's my Signal app? I don't have any. But I think you can fucking go in and see all the phone numbers, right? So that's what people don't want to do. So it's got to be one that's a username based and not a phone number based.
Slack.
Slack?
Yeah.
We'll check into that.
Slack is the
Or
one.
if anyone else has any alternatives, but yeah, like I say, it'd be cool to have an app that did all that. We could have our own little thing. So if you know how to do that or know someone that does, get in touch with us. If not, check out grimerica.ca/support and sign up for a monthly there, do a one-time donation, and maybe we can just save up some money and pay for something like that. I'm sure it's a few $1,000s. Guaranteed.
Yeah. What about the unaffiliated, the unacknowledged?
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to save it for next time? We could save it.
Yeah, we might as well save
Okay.
it. What else do you got? Was that everything we wanted to talk about? I
got more feedback from listeners and synchronicities and trip reports and stuff. I'll save them up.
I thought there was one other thing we wanted to talk about. Oh, I went to the Chili Peppers yesterday.
The Chili Peppers what?
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Concert?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
How was it?
It was good.
Really? Where would
They
they?
still fucking put on a great show.
Really? Where'd they play?
Saddle.
Oh, wow.
I had seats and shit. Too
Yeah.
old for that other shit.
I know.
But they had that crazy like holographic light display.
Oh, cool.
So it's all these lights hanging on cables that can move around all three-dimensionally.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's something else.
Yeah?
I haven't been to a show because I used to go to concerts all the time.
Yeah.
But I've been to a show and probably, I went and seen Ice Cube last year, but that's Stampede shit. That's not the same. So it's been a while since I've been to a concert.
How's the sound, though? Doesn't that place suck for the sound?
The Saddle Dome?
Yeah.
I think.
Or they figure out a way to fix it? Can they buffer it or something? Or
Yeah, I don't know. It sounded fine. Yeah, it sounded good. I was smoking a lot.
Because apparently that's why they don't want to keep that fucking stadium,
well, yeah,
right?
they had
Like,
trouble. People used to, like the last couple of times Tool came through, they wouldn't come.
isn't that amazing? You build a massive
It
stadium
might have
like
something
that.
to do with hanging their speakers or whatever they want from the ceiling. They can't hang their shit from the ceiling. That's the problem with keeping the door open.
Yeah.
The gate would catch most things,
Yeah.
but not the ambulance.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they're okay. So that's it.
Yep.
Okay, guys, that's all we got. Enjoy the chat with Mr. Joel Salatin. He's a great guest. Gramble will see him in a couple of weeks.
Hopefully.
All right, guys, enjoy the chat. It's a good one. Plant some shit. Grow some food. It's only the 224th episode. You'll get it eventually.
All right, so tonight we've got with us Joel Salatin. He calls himself a Christian, libertarian, environmentalist, capitalist, lunatic farmer. Actually, some call him the most popular farmer in the world, a high priest of the pasture. He's been included in documentaries like Food Inc. He's written lots of books, and he co-owns the Polyface Farm in Virginia. Really, really interesting stuff about reclaiming the soil and beyond organic farming. And it's really happy to have you on the show, Joel. Welcome to Grimerica.
Wonderful. Thank you. It's an honor to be with you.
The timing couldn't be better because I'm actually getting all the dirt for my garden this weekend. So it's perfect. And I'll be planting next weekend.
Wonderful. Good for you.
We have a pretty short season in Canada.
In Calgary, yeah, it's like 4 months probably.
Do you do any, do either of you do any season extension, solariums or row covers, tall tunnels, that sort of thing?
No, to be honest, I'm not, I haven't really gotten that serious about gardening. This will be mine and my wife's third kick at it. The first two didn't go so well, but we've learned a lot more. Now I grow some plants in the house, and I've learned some stuff there. So I think this year we're we're kind of ready to hit the ground running and starting with a lot better dirt than we've had before.
Good. That's wonderful. Yeah, well, you know, whenever you start something new, most people don't succeed, not because they don't have a gift or a talent or an aptitude for being able to do it, but just that they're not willing to go through the learning slog. So congratulations on staying with it. You know, you gotta kill a lot of plants before you learn how to grow them.
That seems to be the case with everything, including podcasting.
Yes.
So I suppose to start, you've got your 10 books and all these things about farming, and I think most of our listeners know there's a problem with the agricultural system. But I was thinking maybe you could kind of give us a quick rundown of why a guy like you needs to be around right now and what we've got so wrong.
Oh wow, that's a good opener. I would just start with the point that our current food system is depleting the commons, depleting our resource base, both in terms of potable water, breathable air, soil. We are depleting it, you know, faster than we ever have. In human history, for the first time, human activity is actually moving more soil than wind and floods and volcanoes and all those kinds of things, the actual tonnage of soil. So, our impact on the earth is humongous, and it's never been larger. So we'd better figure out how to touch this ecological womb with an umbilical of help, not one that hurts it. So anyway, there's a tremendous amount of stuff going on ecologically that's bad. Secondly, anyone who's alive today and knows anything knows that we have a brand new lexicon of squiggly Latin words, they're always italicized in a text, that if you're more than 50 years old, you can remember never hearing these words. Words like E. coli, Salmonella, Campylobacter, Listeria, bovine spongiform encephalopathy, and a host of others. And this is because they are relatively new. Now, you know, it's not a brand new bug. They've been around for a long time, but they've never surfaced in our food supply like they are now. And so the factory farming idea of our current orthodoxy is increasing pathogenicity and toxicity at alarming rates. And of course, we're trying to control it with, you know, vaccines and pharmaceuticals and chlorine, sterilization, and that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, you know, the pathogens, these bugs are mutating and adapting and dividing and having babies, faster than a generation a day. And so the idea of trying to stay ahead of them with a new brew is kind of a pipe dream. And I would say that the third thing, if we want to just do three big ones, so that's, you know, just the overall pathogenicity and toxicity of the food system, that's essentially nature batting last. And I would say the third thing is just the nutrient deficiency of our food. I mean, you don't have to go very far to realize that, you know, cabbage has whatever, you know, like 30% of the nutrition that it did 50 years ago. Eggs are in many essential fatty acids, for example. Factory eggs are, a tenth as potent as an egg that's raised from a chicken that's running on pasture and gets salad bar and green material.
Wow.
And then you have the whole polyunsaturated fats. You have this whole, the food pyramid that came out in 1979 that basically put Twinkies and Fruit Loops on the base of it and gave us type 2 diabetes and obesity. And so our food does not pack the punch anymore because we're raising it on artificials. And I'll just conclude with this. In 1943, arguably the founder of sustainable agriculture, a Britisher named Sir Albert Howard, who developed the aerobic composting, the scientific aerobic composting method, brought to the world his legacy book, An Agricultural Testament, in 1943. And in that, he says, when we start growing plants with artificial manures, that's what he called chemical fertilizers. We grow plants with artificial manures, we make artificial plants, which create artificial animals, which then convert into artificial people who can only be kept alive with artificials. And that was 1943. And certainly, those words were prophetically prescient, as we look back. And so we're headed. I mean, this is the first generation now that thinks they won't live as long as their parents. The U.S. now leads the world in the 5 chronic non-infectious causes of illness. Heart disease, cancer, and and these are not numbers to be proud of. There are some things you want to be number one in. The U.S. Olympics gymnastics team. That's a good thing to be number one in. But to be number one in chronic illness, probably not where you want to be number one in the world. So we've got some issues, and it's time to start addressing them.
And it seems like it is being addressed. It seems like we're turning a corner a little bit. I mean, we've got farmers markets all over the place now, and people trying to go local and grow their own food, and it's kind of happening all over. But just recently, I'd watched a movie. I think it was called Sustainable, and I think it talks about the similar type stuff that you guys are doing over there at Polyface, where kind of restructuring the land in a natural way, and it's really inspiring and hopeful. Like, I feel like we've turned the corner away. Like, now sugar's finally being demonized like it should have been. Like, we're finding out that those scientific studies were sort of corrupt back in the, I don't know if you even sort of mentioned that era in the 70s or whatever.
Right.
So I've got hope that we're getting there.
Yeah. The official safe tolerance level for hydrogenated vegetable oil is 0. And of course, the government told us. The government, dietitians, food experts told us for 40 years to get rid of that lard and butter, and eat hydrogenated vegetable oils. And now the recommended safe dosage is 0. So yeah, I very much appreciate the awareness that is dawning on a certain segment of the population, but it's still extremely small. When you compare the amount of food, for example, sold at farmers markets compared to, say, through Walmart or GMO, genetically modified organism foods, I'll say our side is arguably between 1.9 and 4% of the food system. So it's still very, very small. And generally speaking, if there's Hot Pockets in the fridge, NFL on the tube, and the Kardashians are still on the front page of People magazine, life is good, and nobody worries about the future, or nobody thinks about their health or the planetary future. We still live in an extremely non-participatory, apathetic time. But yes, I am glad for every single person, every single, wake up epiphany where somebody says, we've got a problem and I'm part of the solution, not that other guy, not somebody over there. I'm not going to wait on them. I'm not going to wait for a new policy, a new agency. I am the solution. And so that's very exciting.
Yeah.
It's almost like a food revolution. I wanted to touch on that nutrient deficiency problem. Now, you were talking about a head of cabbage having 30% less nutrients. Is that like across the board, or is that like supermarket cabbage?
It's supermarket cabbage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If cabbage is grown in compost, good compost and good mineralized soil, it's every bit as good as what Grandma had.
Because I've even heard.
Cabbage. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I've even heard people talking about how in 30 years, pieces of corn and things like that are going to be less than 1% of their original nutrient value of something grown organically.
That wouldn't surprise me. It's always interesting to listen to forecasters. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, but certainly in the trajectory that we are on, it's a safe bet that. Well, there's an old Chinese saying that says, if we keep going the way we're going, we're going to end up where we're headed. And, when the average bushel of corn takes, 4 bushels of soil, destroys 4 bushels of soil through erosion to grow, that's a very unsustainable thing. The average morsel of food is costing way more out of the resource base than it's putting in, and that trajectory is a no-win trajectory. So somehow we have to move that trajectory, to a different arc.
Well, at least it's good to know that, and so that would mean that even. What does grow light lettuce say have compared to sun lettuce? Would that still be better than store bought?
Generally not. When you come out of the soil, now that's going to open up a can of worms here about hydroponics, aquaponics, aeroponics, this stuff. But I can tell you so far the tests that have been done on soilless growth systems have not been encouraging. Yes, it's beautiful and it grows a lot of bulk and volume, but it doesn't last. It wilts very, very fast, which is indicative of a lack of luster, lack of life, vitality, as well as nutrient deficiency, things like that. Now, the one place where I'm not ready to just
write it off,
whatever, where I'm not ready to impugn categorically soilless systems is in aquaponic systems that use a medium in the growth medium. In other words, it's not hydroponic. Sometimes they use glass marbles. Sometimes they use different kinds of little pebbles. Yeah, exactly. Cocoa puffs. Cocoa.
They're like little pellets or something.
Material, yeah.
So I'll grow my lettuce inside in a pot with some dirt in it.
Yeah, good.
I guess my question is more about do those nutrients come from the light source or from the sun? Or from the light source or from the soil?
The nutrients come from the soil, but the light source is what drives the photosynthesis system, which the photosynthesis creates the carbohydrates in the plant that the plant then negotiates with the minerals in the soil to uptake. So I like to think about the soil as kind of a cafe, an underground cafe, and the thing that comes to mind, of course, because it's so fun to be dramatic and theatrical about these sorts of things, is Star Wars, where Han Solo is in that cafe and Luke Skywalker goes to find he needs to find a ship, and you got that all those weird beings playing the saxophone, playing these weird instruments, and they're dancing around all this intergalactic cafe. Well, that's the way it is in the soil, and so you've got an actinomycetes that says, "Hey, I'll trade you 3 borons for two molecules of that sugar," and so there's this whole commercial smorgasbord going on down in the underground cafe. So the grow lights are driving the energy to sustain, to energize that whole commerce going on underground, but the actual mineral content is coming up out of the soil, and it's actually very small. The mineral content is primarily a catalyst that allows the plant to fully do what the plant's supposed to do. And so it really takes, it's amazingly how little mineral it takes. I mean, they're incredibly important. I don't want to minimize the importance, but relative to the amount of vegetation in the plant, it takes very, very little mineral to fully leverage that source of light, whether it's a grow light, sunlight, whatever it is.
So that's good news. So in a place like Calgary, where we only have a real short growing season, some years especially. Like, so what you're saying is if we're going to do it inside, it's not too bad doing it
with like 3 little 14-inch pots and a 200-watt LED light. I've got more lettuce than I can eat.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Good for you. And the technology for that is certainly coming on. And that's one of the fun things of being in this space, in this movement, is enjoying the this kind of, from LED technology to little hanging plants and vertical gardens where you take you can purchase these kits for like a PVC pipe. You pack it full of compost. It's got pockets in it, and you can grow all your herbs in this little 6-inch by 3-foot tall piece of PVC pipe. We have an actual 55-gallon plastic barrel here by our sales building on the farm. It's got, I think it's 54 pockets in it. And the amount, and you just pack it full of soil and compost, and it's got a place where you can water it, and a hole in the bottom where you can catch the water out the bottom and pour it back in. So you just keep recycling the water through. But that thing, you can grow an incredible number of plants in the pockets in that little plastic barrel. So there was a guy read about a guy, I think it was Kenya, it was in Africa, I think it was Kenya, where he went down and got a bunch of old used 24-inch diameter culverts. And he took a torch and knocked pockets in them, and he stood them up, cut them 12 feet long, stood them up on end, packed them full of compost, and planted broccoli in there. And he was growing the equivalent of, I think it was something like 25 acres of broccoli in 1 acre, because they were along these vertical tubes. And there's a lot of that kind of intensity that can be done, in your house in a very small space, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I just worry about the lighting because, as far as even how LEDs affect us, right? They're finding that there's a frequency and that it affects our brain and our vision to try and keep up with that frequency, right? So I'm worried about natural lighting, right?
Because when I come out of there, everything's kind of green looking.
Yeah.
But it's not like I'm spending more than 10 minutes in that room a day.
No, but if it's not good for us, is it good for plants? That's kind of my thing, right?
Well, CO2 is good for plants.
Yeah. Well, there are full spectrum lights. And full spectrum lighting, you're getting a little bit beyond my pay grade here, but I can assure you that those kinds of questions, there are answers out there, and I know that full spectrum light, which supposedly completely mimics all the short waves, long waves, and color spectrum of sunlight. There's a lot of work that's been done in this. They're available, and you can do it. But beyond that, remember, in Calgary, here's the thing. You guys talking about how you don't have that much light, don't have that much light. I was just I just spent a week in Alaska 2 weeks ago, and I was in Alaska. Now get this, 2 weeks ago in Alaska, so that would have been, May the...
So the beginning of May?
8th. Yeah, the beginning of May in Fairbanks, which is, north of Anchorage. And I was visited a farm there that had already had tomatoes on tomato vines in a greenhouse, and it was it was super insulated, built into the side of a hill, so it was partially underground, which gave it a lot of insulation capacity. Had a wood stove in there with water pipes that ran through the planting bed. So you have these planting boxes, big coffin, about the size of coffins, with two hot water tubes running through them. The water just circulates and keeps their toes warm. And 1st of May in Fairbanks, she had 5 foot tall tomatoes, and so the beauty of places like Calgary, places in the north, is yes, there are dark times, but when the sun does start coming, the amount of daylight is incredible. I mean, it was daylight at midnight. It was light enough to see it still at midnight, and then at 4 o'clock in the morning. So my point is that you get the same amount of daylight we get here in Virginia. It's just compressed.
Yeah.
So the trick is to have your have your infrastructure, your ducks in a row, we'd call it, so that when that light really starts coming, you can leverage it and capitalize on all that light, and you can grow just as much as we can.
In a shorter period of time.
In a shorter period of time. That's why, in Alaska they grow, 8-pound heads of cabbage in 4 weeks. Why? Because they get the amount of daylight that we get. They get it in 4 weeks. What it takes us 8 weeks to get. So it's easy to look at the limitations, but I would encourage you to look at the opportunity and realize that there's a lot that can be done there. Because there is a high light period, and then what you do is when you are able to grow so much stuff so fast, then you preserve it, whether it's dehydration or canning or smoking or whatever, freezing, but you preserve it then, and you create your larder. That's a word we don't hear much anymore, larder. But you create your own larder for the off season. I mean, that's how all of our ancestors did it. And it's hard for us to imagine a day before the supermarket, but supermarkets really only came in about 1945, 46, and so there was a whole lot of human civilizational activity before 1945, 46, before the supermarket. So It can be done.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Who did we have on who was talking about those domes that if you dig down 10 feet and dug down 10 feet, you could plant with a dome over it and it'd be okay too?
Yeah, Richard Miller, I think, and he was selling the geodesic or installing the geodesic domes that are half buried, like a greenhouse dome. Yeah.
Yeah. The earth sheltered greenhouse. But essentially, you're taking the thermal heat of the earth, which everywhere, you go down 10 or 12 feet, it's roughly there's a little difference in temperature between the tropics and Calgary, but not a whole lot. And so you get down there at a certain point, and it's in the 50-degree range. Well, from 50 degrees, I mean, there's stuff that'll actually grow at 50 degrees. Hardy lettuce and cabbage and things like that. And if you put any solar gain over it, a transparent covering, and then where you can run that temperature on up to 80 in the daytime, and then you put your heat sink in, some barrels of water painted black, or big monoliths or concrete or big rocks, or some people, pour gravel in there and run, just run leaky pipe through so you can, blow air through, and the air just percolates up through the rocks and overnight. There's a lot of ways that you can, that you can hold that heat and extend the season. I mean, I think it's just important to understand that if we were as aggressively creative about doing the kind of things that we're talking about right now as we are how to build more roads, more trucks, and harvest more petroleum to import, lettuce from California to Calgary in the wintertime. If we changed our focus and did the same level of innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurism in what we've just been talking about, as opposed to our current orthodoxy, it would be hard for us right now to imagine what the future could look like.
Yeah, I want to talk about that a little bit, about how you did that at Polyface. Like before we run out of time here, like I watched your little your video on the website and all that, and it's really fascinating how you reclaim the land. I don't know even what you would call it specifically, but how you naturally move the animals around, and it's all grass fed stuff, and the soil gets better and everything. Like you're basically redoing the whole area to be the sustainable farm with meat and vegetables and stuff.
Everybody
right?
used to do it, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, what we're doing is we're looking at the patterns of nature and saying, well, how did nature build soil? And when you look at the most fertile soils of the planet, whether it's the pampas in Argentina, the steppes of Mongolia, the middle of Canada and America, these tremendous fertile soils. These are the most fertile soils of the world, and what built them was not forests, and it was not bushes or shrubs. It was prairies and herbivores with predators and a whole series of things, birds and all that. Mm-hmm. But this was not built with John Deere plows and 10-10-10 chemical fertilizer and Roundup. These soils, this wealth that we're still mining, was built with a very specific choreography, and the choreography was the foundation of the choreography was migratory hordes, in fact, mm-hmm. of buffalo, wildebeest on the Serengeti, caribou, moose, yaks, zebras, all sorts of, and we know that long time ago there was a lot more megafauna than there is today. I mean, Australia had 9-foot tall wombats. New Zealand had the herbivorous bird, the Manoa bird, and it stood 6 feet tall and was an herbivore. So there was this megafauna all over the planet. Europe, had everything from mastodons to great big stuff, and so the fact is that forages as opposed to trees and shrubs actually are more efficient at converting solar energy into biomass, into vegetable material, than trees and shrubs. Because it has a much faster metabolic cycle. It goes through its cycle much faster, which is a blessing in that it's so efficient at capturing solar energy, but it's a curse in that the cycle goes so fast. So grass and forages, I mean, they can go through their entire growth and senescence in 80 days.
Yeah.
And so the reason for the herbivore is to prune, just like a viticulturist would prune a vineyard or an orchardist would prune an apple tree. The herbivore prunes that rapidly growing vegetation, the biomass, back to restart the juvenile rapid growth phase. I call the herbivore, nature's biomass accumulation restart button. Now, when you take the herbivore out of that role and you divorce the herbivore from that historic role, then what was a beautiful symbiotic relationship becomes a liability. You put that animal in a feedlot. Now you got way too much manure in one spot. Instead of being a blessing, that becomes a curse. You got animals staying in the same spot instead of going to new ground. So now they're in a toxic situation. The mob becomes toxic instead of protective, and the feed, instead of them finding their own feed and using their mobility to move around, now we use petroleum and machinery in order to plant, harvest, and deliver that feed stuff to the animal, and it's primarily annuals and not perennials. And annuals, like corn and soybeans and rye and small grains, it's not sinful to have small grains. I like my rye bread as much as anybody else. But herbivores were not designed to eat annuals, and so if we quit growing annuals to feed herbivores, we wouldn't need to grow very many of them, and then we wouldn't have the ecological devastation that the tillage and the herbicides and all that stuff creates trying to grow annuals like corn and soybeans and things like that. Annuals also have a very different energy cycle. Annuals put all their energy not in roots but up here in a big seed, an ear of corn, a pod of bean, a group of seeds, a clump of seeds for grains, and a perennial puts its energy in the roots under the soil so that it can survive calamities, floods, droughts, cold, hot, volcanoes, whatever, and live to fight another day. It doesn't depend on seeds. It depends on the savings account in the roots. And because the annuals put their energy above the ground and the perennials put their energy below the ground, that's why perennials build soil so much faster than annuals, is because they are soil builders rather than soil extractors. And so, our whole agriculture production system, if we use modern technology like, plastic pipe to make streams run uphill, we can deliver water in a more perfect way than it ever was before. Or portable electric fence. I mean, computer microchipped energizers and electric fence is our whole. That allows us to put a steering wheel and an accelerator and a brake on that four-legged pruner, and those herbivores around the landscape as precisely as you can a zero-turn mower on a golf course. That's pretty cool, and we've never been able to do that before. So this is not about Luddites and anti-technology. It's about using the technology to caress and massage those great choreographies that we see nature using in building symbiotic, complex relationships with plants and animals, and the sheer production that nature's able to do. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was going to ask you about is the difference between what we knew from our ancestors and from the way it used to be done compared to the technology or the new techniques that you've used to enhance that, and how much did you learn? Like, how much did you figure out on your own compared to learning from history books or specific lessons on farming? And then I just want to make a note as well. Like, I think your mic or your phone is scratchy or something's going on with your.
Are you cordless?
No, I'm on a landline.
Oh, it sounds good now.
But
it sounds better now.
Good now.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Might have just wiggled something.
Yeah. It sounds good now. So.
Sounds good now.
Maybe that wire
good.
was loose or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I just shoved everything in good, so we'll see if it goes okay.
Yeah.
So where did I learn all this stuff? Well, I'm a voracious reader, and of course, I had a dad who was a genius. You know how they say the older you get, the smarter your dad was, and so that's where I am. And maybe someday my kids will say that about me too. I don't know. But anyway, he was way ahead of his time. We always said he was organic before Rachel Carson wrote Silent Spring. And his dad, my grandfather, was a charter subscriber to Rodale's Organic Gardening and Farming magazine when it first came out, and he invented the term organic back in 1949. So I have this wonderful family legacy of being, a heretic, and so I stand on the shoulders of great people, and then I've read a lot. I've visited a lot of farms, and we've as we started at the top of the program, we've killed a lot of plants. We've made a lot of mistakes, but we've been at it long enough to have punched through some of that, the learning curve. And we certainly don't know everything. We learn things every day, but we know enough that the production risk is pretty low now, and we know how to produce this stuff without vaccines, without chemicals, without pharmaceuticals, and it's really quite exciting.
Wow.
And you're probably able to do that
sustainably.
I was wondering more about the cost implications of you compared to a factory farm, like at the cash register.
Sure. Price is always a funny thing. So let's break it down a couple ways. I mean, first of all, I'm sure you've read the term externalized costs, and the fact is that the supermarket cash register does not capture the pathogen, pollution, sickness costs of poor quality food, and so when our price at the cash register is higher, there's no pollution cleanup after our food. There's no, you're not going to get diarrhea, from our food. You're not going to, these things, and so all of our cost is paid for at the cash register, including a living wage, which that's more and more a situation that's critical in our country. Anytime people start talking about changing immigration and that sort of thing, the agriculture community goes ballistic because, half of the work in agriculture is done by very, very cheap foreign labor. And I don't want to get into, a tangent on that, but all I'm saying is, if you want a food system that hires your neighbors, you have to pay for it at the cash register. You can't have the cheapest food policy and have a different kinds of wage situation. So that's one element. Secondly, the best way to drop your cost is to get in your kitchen, and this is what people aren't doing anymore. They're buying convenience. Right now, you could come here to our farm or get on our delivery list, and we would bring you a chicken that's cheaper than the cheapest boneless, skinless breast at the supermarket. But you have to take a whole chicken, and you have to take a knife and cut out that breast. And all I'm saying is, if you really want to buy nutrition, you buy unprocessed whole foods, and then you get jazzed about domestic culinary arts, and you start using your kitchen. When I say, domestic culinary arts, I can hear the pushback over the wires. Oh, wait, I don't want to get in the kitchen, blah, blah, blah. As if getting in our kitchen is going back to some, wash pan, washboards and hoop skirts and hearth cooking. Never have kitchens been more techno-glitzy than they are today. I mean, we got hot and cold running water, refrigerators, freezers, electricity, propane or electric ovens and stoves, timed bake, slow cookers, fry babies, yogurt makers, ice cream makers, bread makers, Cuisinarts. I mean, Grandma would have given her eye teeth for the stuff we have today. So never has it been easier to cook from scratch, but never have so few people been doing it.
I love cooking.
So yeah,
that
great,
seems weird
great.
to me that people don't cook anymore.
Well, they don't. I mean, what, 25% of all food in America is eaten in a car? 25% of all food. 80% of Americans at 4 o'clock have no idea what they're going to eat for dinner. 80%. What's another one? The average American, and I don't know about Canada, so I'm just going to say American. The average American spends less than 17 minutes a day in their kitchen. Less than 17 minutes. So when all you do is put the Pop-Tart in the toaster and the Hot Pockets in the microwave, you got about 17 minutes. That doesn't leave you much time for doing much.
There's also the overeating too.
Here's the one I like. Here's one I like. 70% of all menus in America are chosen by people under 10 years old.
I don't get that.
So, well, the kids are running the house.
Oh, I see what you mean. Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
The kids are deciding what they're going to eat. Instead of sit down and eat what's put before you like I grew up. Instead it's well, what do you want, Johnny? Or better yet,
mac and cheese.
Yeah. Better yet, Johnny doesn't even have to go to the table. He goes and gets the single service pudding, and boom, that's supper. And so listen, if there's one insignia, I'll come up with this. If there's an insignia of the people who get a participatory integrity food system, it is this: they eat leftovers. Because the whole convenience system is predicated on single service, no leftovers. You pop the single service, whatever it is, and so when you're eating leftovers, that indicates that you're actually cooking from scratch, getting unprocessed food, and fixing it yourself. So finally, I'll just say this about price. When we talk about price, whenever somebody says, "Well, your stuff's more expensive or whatever, it's hard to buy," I say, "Okay, all right, here we're going to go to your house. We're going to go to your house right now, and here's what we're not going to find at your house. I'm sure we're not going to find this at your house. We're not going to find any alcohol, cigarettes, or lottery tickets. We're not going to find Netflix, widescreen TVs, iPads, iPhones. We're not going to find $100 designer jeans with holes already in the knees. We're not going to find, People magazine. We're not going to find any soda. We're not going to find any takeout. We're not going to, okay." And you start down this list, and man, the truth is that we purchase our value system. And if you want to make a change, you have to put emphasis on it. I wish I could click my fingers and everybody in the world would suddenly really be eating high quality, integrity, nutrient dense food. I would love to be able to click my fingers and do that. But you can't do the same thing over and over and assume that you're going to have a different outcome. That's Einstein's definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. And so if we're going to expect a different outcome, we have to start doing something different. And that's where personal responsibility comes in. I can't do it for you. I can't do it for somebody else. And I don't expect anybody else to do it for me. I need to do it for me. And if we do that, we will change the trajectory of our culture, because our trajectory is the summation. It's the accumulation, the cumulative effect of all the little billions and trillions of decisions that are made every day among the citizenry. You put all those together and amalgamate them, and that's the culture we have. And if we're going to change that trajectory, those decisions one by one have to be made differently.
Yeah, well said. I agree. I also think we're eating too much as a culture as well. I mean, I think we're going to find out in the future that this 3 meal a day thing was kind of more propaganda than anything, and we really don't need 3 full meals a day, but we'll see what happens there.
I couldn't agree with you more, yes.
My kids
Absolutely.
need like 8 meals a day.
So you guys also you do meat too, right? Like pigs and cattle and all that. So, but it's grass fed and it's free range and all that, but you still do slaughter meat, right?
Oh yeah, a lot. Yeah, we dressed 538 chickens this morning.
That's delightful. So that's what that's. So at the end of the day, do you think that's more important than organic per se? Like, I know in Canada it's hard to find really organic meat, especially certain cuts. But it's easy to find stuff that's hormone antibiotic free. Not easy, and it's a little expensive, but it's definitely a lot more findable.
Yeah. Well, the truth is that government certified organic. I mean, we're not government certified organic because there are things in the organic certification that the government's put together that are not helpful. I mean, for example, you have to certify that your compost goes over 140 degrees. Well, we don't want our compost to go over 140 degrees.
No.
We want a cool compost. More like 120, 125. I mean, it's warm, but it won't scald your skin off your hand. And so there are definitely certain things that to be organic certified would actually compromise our quality. And so we just don't play the government game, and we tell our story, and we have a 24/7, 365 open door policy here to the farm. Anyone can come from anywhere in the world, anytime, to see anything unannounced anywhere. And you don't have to walk through sheep dip or sign in or put on a hazmat suit or a gas mask or respirator. We don't have any skull and crossbones on our, doors. And, we don't have any manure lagoons. I've never had anybody drown in a compost pile. So, it's a very neighbor-friendly, people-friendly place, and we run this open source, and we invite people to check us out. If you don't understand or you don't believe us or whatever, come at 2:00 in the morning. Don't wake me up, but if you want to go walk the fields at 2 and see if that's when we're putting on Roundup, well, be my guest, have at it. And so, we're very aggressive about this, this openness. We think that this transparency and openness is something that in our litigious and paranoid modern techno world we've lost, and we think it's ultimately people centricity. People centricity actually, is the secret to bringing back integrity. So we don't play the certification games, and one of the reasons that organic can be difficult is because of all the paperwork, and so a lot of small producers, frankly, don't have the time or the energy or the stomach to deal with all the paperwork, and so we do our alternative marketing, tell our story, take our pictures, invite people out, and that's our certification. We always tell people we're customer certified. That's the highest certification you can have.
No doubt. Yeah, that's fantastic. Speaking of Roundup, have you heard that story about that Oregon farm that yeah. Something that the officials are threatening to seize 2,000 acres and spraying it with Roundup? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's Azure Farms.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to look it up, they can Google Azure Farms. They've been organic for 17 years.
Uh-huh.
One of the largest organic farms in the country. And what they've got is I don't know all the details, but apparently there's a weed or two that they have, that everybody has out there, and they refuse to spray for it. I'm confident that their population of this particular weed or weeds is probably no more than anybody else who does spray. It's just the idea that they don't spray, and so they're the heretic. The orthodoxy is that you spray for this stuff, and this is certainly crossing a fine line here between tyranny and liberty.
Mm-hmm.
When the culture uses the point of a gun to come to you and tell you have to apply an herbicide on a weed, that's kind of your fist hitting my nose, I think. And
seems like food's another one of those industries now that just it's time for a pushback. If we don't push back now, it'll just be lost forever.
Right. And so, in my view, what's happening to Azure Farms out there, I wrote my letter to the judge, and I hope other people do as well. The hearing's going to be May 22, but yeah, this is back to, the Inquisition and the heretics that won't toe the Orthodox line. We put them on the rack and then we burn them at the stake. And they're not burning them at the stake, but they're throwing Roundup on all their possessions. So it's pretty close to destroying your life and your livelihood. And so yeah, this is real serious stuff. We've moved against a crazy line. I mean, like take GMOs. I mean, GMOs. This is patented life forms that could never exist outside human manipulation, and so here a patented life form from a corporate owner drifts across the wind and trespasses on my property. Their beings, their life forms on my property. You would think that I could go down to the district attorney and get a restraining order and hold them liable for trespass. But instead of that, they can come and get an order on me to pay them a royalty and a penalty for unlicensed usage of their beings. I mean, it's like if you had a bull come over to my farm or my house, my garden, and trample my rose bushes, I could go to the district attorney and say, hey, let's bring that neighbor in for trespass violations. This bull trampled my roses. Can you imagine a magistrate looking at you and say, oh, wait a minute. No, actually, you have to pay him for the privilege of his bull coming over and trampling your rose bushes. I mean, it's insane what we're doing. It's just madness. So while I very much appreciate the proliferation of farmers markets and the growing awareness of people, I also see this other, juggernaut from the other direction that's coming along. And not to be negative, but I can assure you that the war hasn't been won yet. I mean, if there is a war between a truth and a lie, that war is far from far from determined right now, and it's exciting days.
Yeah. What about government subsidies? Like, is that, how much of a role do they play? Because I've heard kind of both ways on those.
Yeah, well, I'm a libertarian. I don't think the government should subsidize anything. I think
I would agree with you on that.
I think it should be about a tenth the size that it is, and leave. You're in Canada. Leave the provinces free to do their experiments, and in the states here to let the states do their experiments. Drop the federal intrusion down substantially, and let a lot of experiments happen on the more provincial and local level. That way you could have a lot more, trials and experiments going on simultaneously, and it's not a one-size-fits-all, winner-take-all kind of thing. And I just think that governance is best when it's at the lowest, the smallest level or the most local level possible of that. When it comes to the common defense of the country. That's something that the federal has to handle because the locality can't do that. But most things can absolutely be handled at a much smaller level than the federal level, and we'd have much more freedom and many more innovative prototypes if we had those amount of experiments going on.
And not only that, I mean, there was a time when you used to move to a different little corner of your country for a reason, right? And,
Sure.
In Canada, I think we're probably worse off than you are for federal government.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no question. I mean, the quota system,
socialist.
oh, my goodness. Yeah. The Canada's way worse than we are here.
I think your phone cord is cutting out again a little bit. If you could try plugging it back in.
Is it?
Yep.
Are we okay now?
I think so.
Oh, no, it's still...
Yeah. Still funny?
Yeah, a little bit.
How's that?
Yeah, that sounds
better?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sound better? So, I think this phone is probably about 50 years old.
So are you going to that Red Pill Expo in Montana?
I sure am. Yes, looking forward to it.
What will you be talking about there?
Well, I'm going to be talking about food liberty and farm liberty as it just overall freedom to make our choices in food. You're free to get cigarettes and alcohol and in many states now marijuana, but you can't buy a glass of raw milk. In fact, a couple times ago I was up in Canada. I go to Canada several times a year usually, and I was up there speaking, and I found out that it was illegal to transport on the public roadways raw milk. Well, I didn't know that, but I had spoken at this conference in Edmonton or something, and a lady came up with a little cooler and a towel and gave me a quart of raw milk. People do this, when I travel, and I took it back to the and so I said thanks and kept it on the table. I was signing autographs, books, and so we got done and got in the car to go back to the hotel, and I had this glass of raw milk, and that's when my host told me that that it was illegal to transport. Now, he took me to the hotel and I drank it all down. But I thought, wouldn't that be hilarious if we got stopped by a cop and I got thrown in jail? American farmer gets thrown in jail in Canada for transporting raw milk to his hotel room. That would be. It'd almost be
worth it. It'd almost be worth it to do that.
Absolutely. I was looking around, I was hoping we could do something, to attract the cop, and so it would happen. I mean, that'd make a. Well, you could write about that for days, man.
I got a raw milk guy in Manitoba. I don't have a raw milk guy in Alberta, actually. So if you're in Alberta and you have raw milk,
Michael
has a raw milk guy. Yeah, of course he does.
So what else are you planning on doing in the future here then? How are you going to keep spreading this message?
You might go to the conference, right?
I might go to the conference. Yeah, I might see you down there, Joel. I'm not sure. Michael was going to go too, but he might not be coming. We'll see.
Great. I hope you do. Yeah. So, well, I mean, I continue to travel and write, and of course, I'm still very much a farmer. I'm here 2/3 of the time. I'm sitting here right now at the desk with grease all over my hands because I got the hay baler ready to go today. We're going to bale our first hay tomorrow.
Chicken blood all over you?
Yeah. I butchered those chickens this morning, and so I think I got most of that cleaned off. But I've got another book coming out in August, and an exciting project. I've just finished with my daughter, who's quite a gifted little artist. She's not little. She's short, but she's not. Anyway, she's 30. All right. My daughter and I have just finished our first children's book. The title is Patrick Pigeon's Great Grass Adventure with Greg the Grass Farmer. And what we've tried to do is take these concepts of biomass and pruning and put them in language that a 4 to 7 year old can understand, make an interesting story with good illustrations, and bring some of these concepts to kids. And so that's going to come out by the 1st of August. So we're pretty excited about that. And Chelsea Green Publishing is going to distribute it, and this will be the first children's book that Chelsea Green has ever distributed. So we're pretty excited about that, and we'll see how it goes. And if it goes well, then we can imagine numerous additional things that this Patrick Pigeon could watch Greg the Grass Farmer do.
Cool.
Kind of like Bob. Yeah, kind of like Bob the Builder,
Yeah, Darren and Michael both have kids, and they're both into this stuff, so they'd love to.
Yeah.
We'll keep in touch and order that book when it comes out.
Good.
Kids are unvaccinated or organic eating, so they should live longer than me.
They might be the first generation that lives longer. Yeah,
they should live longer than me, because I was into all that shit for 30 years.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
right.
getting it now.
Yeah.
They haven't had it. They had once in a blue moon. I mean, we slip when we go to a restaurant, things like that. But for the most part, they haven't had any of that crap ever.
Yeah, and I bet they're healthy too.
Oh yeah, they're quite healthy and smart and energetic and troublemaking.
Smart enough to backtalk you and that sort of stuff.
That's right. And then prefer outside to inside in the summer and all those fun things.
Yeah.
Okay, Joel, where can before we let you go, where can our listeners track you down? Are you on Twitter and Facebook and anything like that?
The thing is I don't exist except through Polyface Farm. I'm a Luddite. I don't do all this stuff, but we certainly have an active Facebook page at the farm. It's Polyface Farms. We have a website, and so we have a media presence. We have Snapchat or Instagram or something. I can't keep them all straight. But anyway, just Google us up there, Polyface Farms, and it'll pop up, and you'll see whatever you want to see. There's a lot of information on the website. We try to keep people abreast of stuff that's going on, and my speaking schedule's on there. So if people are listening to this that want to come and know where I'm going to be, it's all listed there out as far as I know. And when I book another one, it goes on the website. So a lot of information there. Everybody's welcome to jump on that.
Yeah, it's a great website. There's tons of literature on there, and then you guys have also made some media as well for people, right? Like DVDs and stuff like that they can get.
Yes, we have. We've got one on our buying clubs, one on the pigs, one that's macro on the farm. There was one made by an Australian group called Polyfaces, and it's interesting, about these concepts. It's a documentary. So yeah, there's numerous video resources there as well. Mm-hmm.
Right on. I think you guys are doing some of the most important work, and it's really some of the most inspiring work as well. Just that there's hope to turn the corner here into beyond organic agriculture and get back to the healthy stuff. I'm trying to leave all the processed foods in the supermarket and just eat a little bit better myself. But it's so good to hear that. I don't know, man. I was inspired. I watched that movie, and then I seen his website on. It's just so inspiring.
Well, very cool. Well, thank you very much, and it's sure an honor to have a good discussion with you guys.
Right on. Enjoy your time in Montana at that conference, and I might see you down there.
Good. I hope so. You take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Joel.
Take care.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Now was a chat with Joel Salatin.
Like I said, man, it's inspiring.
Most farmers seem to be libertarians.
Yeah. Have you seen the video on there where they move all the animals around grazing and all that?
I'm familiar with it. It's
fantastic.
like, isn't it like 4 spaces? It's like a quadrant where you got the chickens go through and then the cows and then you plant the food and then...
Yeah, and then the soil's all like it repairs the soil. Like, you hear people talking about how we've destroyed agriculture and the soil's gone, right? But the way these guys do it, it can all be regenerated, right?
Even Marty Travis, who's going to come on the show eventually, probably later in the summer. When
is that the guy from Sustainable?
That's the guy from Sustainable, from whatever, Spence Farms, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back to his family farm that was
destroyed.
The soil was destroyed, and he was able to reclaim it by planting clover. He had to plant a lot of plants.
A variety of stuff.
Yeah, and some of it was stuff you don't even eat. like a lot of it was just companion plants that help the soil. They'll naturally add nitrogen to the soil, so they'll pull the nitrogen out of the air and put it into the soil so that you don't have to dump it in there. And I mean, there's a whole fucking science to it.
Yeah.
And it's good that
and there's a natural science
to it, right? It's good that these farmers that are articulate and things like that are starting to come forward, and you just hope it's not too late.
Yeah.
Like I say, it's funny because I shared a picture the other day. It was like the revolution doesn't look like you think. And it was someone who had just turned their whole front yard into a vegetable garden.
Yeah, like that's what I wonder. Why we're not growing more stuff?
Growing their own, well, even you could be growing quite a bit of food. Just that you've got a south.
I can't even have a fucking plant.
You had a south-facing balcony. Do you still have a south balcony?
I don't get any sun now.
Because you could grow fucking your lettuce right on your balcony, right in your window.
I'll just get it from you guys. You guys are both growing
that's
stuff.
Illegal. That's fucking illegal, bro.
I'm not going to steal it.
I think it's illegal to try to give food if you grew it yourself, isn't it? I bet you it is. It's Canada. I bet you it's illegal. Because now if you get sick off that food, you have no recourse. Because I don't have insurance.
No.
I think that's the whole raw milk thing.
Yeah, but raw milk is a special case. You can drive down. Lettuce. You can drive. No.
Check out Grimerica.ca/support, guy. Guys, the one guy who usually donates every month. You know who I'm talking to.
That's Bill the Shill from the chat room.
Bill the Shill from the chat room, yeah. See, it's too bad because Michael doesn't do Google, but he would probably love the chat room.
Oh, yeah. Actually, yeah, he should get in there, yeah.
Yeah, especially Bill the Shill is in the chat room right now.
There's a guy in the chat room, Michael, there's a bee that always shows up in the chat room, but he's never commented. So everybody's like, hey, Bill, we just call him Bill.
All right, guys, check out Grimerica.ca/support. Sign up for a monthly if you can, one-time donation if you can. There's a bunch of ways you can support the show. We didn't add them to the page yet. We're just going to do that when the new webpage comes out. Big thanks to Jane for the new server space, which won't cost us anything when we eventually switch over, but that's going to be a process. Yeah. The show notes have everything there. 9 out of 10 ways to support the show are absolutely free.
Leave a review to offset the 1 star that we got not too long ago.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through that on the next day. Sure, we'll read that. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, leave review the show wherever you can, share the show wherever you can. Tell your friends about this motherfucker. Spam Graham. I think that's about it. Thanks for listening, guys. We will see you next week.
If more you support
supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
Sending out good vibes. Good vibes. Good vibes. Good vibes. Good vibes.
Underneath breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection, and put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track, shivers or vibrations and stuff like that. Underneath breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection, and put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track, shivers or vibrations and stuff like that. Underneath breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection, and put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track, shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
If more of you supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
If they make you laugh, if they make you cry, if they blow your mind, why not go online to Grimerica.ca/support?
Graham.